It all started with a simple financial arrangement with my neighbor, James Schieffer. He was a 36-year-old limousine driver, a married father of 3 who loved his kids and was an accomplished baseball player back in high school. In October 2012, I agreed to be the payee for his Social Security disability benefits. He got $1,230 each month and I kept $100 for my trouble. But he kept overdrawing the account, and the tension between us grew. When he asked me to get a $4,000 loan from my father, the pressure became too much. I was a mother of 2 teenage kids myself, separated from my husband and trying to navigate a new relationship with a boyfriend in Texas. James and I were neighbors on the surface, but underneath, a storm was brewing. On April 3rd, 2013, I picked James up from his work at Blue Diamond Limousines. My kids were in the car. We went back to my home in Deltona, Florida, a city in Volusia County known as a quiet residential community. We drank vodka and peach schnapps cocktails, but I had already made a decision. Hours earlier, I had bought rubber gloves and plastic wrap from Walmart. I had taken Flexeril, a muscle relaxant, for my dying father. I drove James to the Osteen Cemetery after dropping my kids off at my parents' house. There, near an oak tree, I drugged his drink. When the moment came, I took an ice pick from the back seat and stabbed him in the right eye. He struggled. I wrapped a cord with 2 handles around his neck and strangled him until he stopped moving. In a final, brutal act, I stabbed him in the left eye with the ice pick. But the horror wasn't over. I wrapped his head in the plastic wrap to keep blood out of my car and took his body back to my garage. There, I dismembered his body with a knife and a hacksaw. I tried to burn the evidence, placing parts in my oven and boiling others in pots on my stove. The smell was too much. I gave up and told my teenage son we were disposing of a deer I had hit with my car. He helped me, never knowing the truth. For weeks, I thought I could keep my dark secret. I spoke to investigators when they canvassed the neighborhood, telling them I had last seen James on April 5th and 15. But the guilt and panic were eating me alive from the inside. On April 21st, I went to my sister's house. I was hugging my kids goodbye, and I confessed to the crime I had committed. My sister was the one who made the 911 call, her voice trembling as she told the dispatcher I needed to be Baker acted because I had pills and was threatening to take them. She told them she's admitted to a crime that she's being investigated for. When the deputies arrived, my facade crumbled. I eventually confessed and led them to the various locations around Volusia County where I had disposed of James's remains. They only ever found 56 of his 206 bones. His head and torso were never found. At my trial, the prosecutors showed the jury my Walmart purchase of gloves and plastic wrap. They revealed how I had boiled James's head in a pot. The medical examiner testified that a soup pot contained his thigh bone, kneecap, and soft tissue. The jury took just 3 hours to find me guilty of first-degree murder, abuse of a dead human body, and tampering with physical evidence. On December 5, 2014, Circuit Judge Randell H. Rowe III sentenced me to life in prison without parole. I live with what I did daily. I took a man from his family. I involved my own children in a nightmare. I thought I was solving a problem, but I just created an endless chain of pain and trauma. My name is David Hotyat. I was born on October 23, 1972, in Arras, France, to a worker father and a post-woman mother. I grew up in Biache-Saint-Vaast, where I was a talented athlete, even holding the cadet record for the 3,000 meters at my local club. But school never interested me. After my military service, I moved with my partner Alexandra Lefebvre to Le Grand Bornand at the end of 2001. That's where I met Xavier Flactif, a successful property developer who would later become my landlord. I started renting a chalet from him, and right away, I felt a burning resentment. He had everything I thought I deserved: luxury cars, beautiful houses, a life of success built in the very same region we both came from in the north of France. Alexandra had even worked for a time as a cleaner for his family. The jealousy festered inside me, fed by what I saw as his flashy, unscrupulous character and my own professional failures. The final straw was a dispute over a derisory sum of money. just a few €100, for some odd jobs I had done for him and cleaning work Alexandra had performed. On the afternoon of April 11, 2003, I went to his chalet in the hamlet of Le Chinayen. The family was there, the lights were on, and dinner was in the oven. I carried a .22 caliber revolver. I still don't know if I truly intended to use it, but the meeting went wrong almost immediately. I fired at Xavier. The shot went off. I had to silence the witnesses. I shot the children, and I shot Graziella, his wife, as she came to see what the noise was. I killed all 5 of them in their own home: Xavier Flactif, his partner Graziella Ortolano, and their 3 children, Sarah, Letitia, and Gregory, aged 10, 9, and 7. After the shooting, a cold clarity took over. I knew I had to erase what I had done. I meticulously cleaned the chalet, scrubbing away the blood. But I wasn't perfect. I missed tiny traces. I then loaded the bodies into a vehicle and drove them to a remote forest near Tons. There, I built a massive pyre and set the bodies on fire, trying to reduce the evidence of my crime to ash. I abandoned the family's Toyota Land Cruiser at Geneva Airport, hoping to make it look like they had fled. For months, I thought I had gotten away with it. I even went on television, listing grievances against Flactif and criticizing his lifestyle.
It seems karma got to that bad businessman.
But the investigators were smarter than I was. They used a special chemical called Blue Star on the cleaned chalet, which revealed hidden bloodstains that contained my DNA, mixed with the blood of the family. They took DNA from over 130 people, and mine was the match they were looking for, the famous 6th trace. I was arrested on September 16, 2003. Confronted with the science, I confessed. At my trial in 2006, I was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 22 years. My partner, Alexandra Lefebvre, and our friends Stéphane and Isabelle Haremza were also convicted for helping me cover up the murders. I live with what I did every day. I destroyed an entire family because I was consumed by jealousy and bitterness over a life I couldn't have. I took a father, a mother, and 3 innocent children from the world, and the weight of that is a prison all its own. People look at me now and see a monster, but I was just a kid once. I was born in 1988, and my life was never stable. My parents split when I was 2, and I lived with my mom, Esther Fielding. We moved all over Northern California, often with no money. For years, we lived in a shack in Lafayette with no electricity or running water. I'd shower once a week at my mom's friends' houses. My dad called Child Protective Services twice, saying I was neglected and emotionally abused, but nothing ever happened. Then my half-sister died in a car accident in 2002. I was a loner, always in trench coats, kicked out of Boy Scouts for my views. I didn't fit in anywhere. By 2005, I was 17 and desperate for my own thing. My friend Robin Kroon and I planned to grow marijuana in my closet. I needed money for equipment, so I started a credit card scam, stealing neighbors' information. But I made a huge mistake. An order using Karen Schneider's card was sent to Pamela Vitale's address by mistake. When the company refused it, I told Robin I'd take care of it. I thought Vitale was Schneider. I went to her house on October 15, 2005, with a rock and a knife, wearing a mask and gloves. What happened next? I lost control. I hit her over and over, more than 24 times. I broke her fingers. She fought back, but I didn't stop. When she was nearly gone, I carved an H into her back with my knife. Then I turned her over and stabbed her in the stomach. I don't know why I did it. The rage just took over. The police found me fast. My DNA was on her foot. Her blood was on my stuff. They found the ski mask with both our DNA. My girlfriend Gina told them about my dark fantasies, how I talked about hurting children, and wondered how bodies worked without certain organs. That snitch. They even brought up a cartoon I watched, Invader Zim, saying it fueled my obsessions. At my trial in 2006, I said I didn't do it, but the evidence was too much. They found me guilty of first-degree murder and burglary. The judge gave me life without parole. I was just 17. Pamela's daughter, Marissa, said I killed a part of all of them. At a hearing in 2017, I cried and said I didn't kill her, that I only did the credit card fraud and thought about
I'm innocent, I swear. Please believe me.
In 2018, the law changed for juveniles. My sentence was reduced to 25 years to life. I could get parole in 2030. At least I won't spend all my life behind bars. Daniel Horowitz, Pamela's husband, hates that I might ever get out. He says the law protects someone who enjoys torture. I never admitted guilt in court, but the overwhelming evidence got me. So do you believe the evidence or do you believe me?